All right, good morning and welcome everyone to Insight. I am Becky Blyvik with the Cooper Eagle team, and I want to start out just by asking you all a little question, rhetorical question. How would you define success in retirement? Now, if that's a question you've never asked yourself, then I think you're in the right place. If it is a question you've asked yourself, I still think you're in the right place. We have a packed agenda today, just kind of reading through what we have planned for you. Of course, right now we're in introductions. Andrew, can you move to the next slide? Thank you. All right, so opening up, I'll have some housekeeping items in a minute. We'll take some time to ask questions of our panelists today, and then we have time at the end for Q&A. So that's a good segue to moving into the housekeeping items. We have reserved some time. I know when you registered, you were able to submit some questions, but if questions come up along the way, along the course of the presentation this morning, you can add them in the Q&A box. If you are on a laptop or a desktop, it should be along the top of your screen, kind of about the middle. There's a thing that says Q&A with a little question mark. If you're on a mobile device, you may have to hit the three dots and then a menu will come up and you should see the Q&A box there as well. The panelists that we have today are actual clients of ours. So we won't be going through any personal financial details of theirs. We won't go through family details, but we still think that you'll get a lot from them and a lot of wisdom from them. And again, because they are real clients, there are some strict rules about compliance things in the financial industry. So I just have to say that our panelists are not being paid to be here today. They are here out of the goodness of their heart and hopefully to share a lot of wisdom with all of you. So let's get into it. Again, I want to welcome you all to Insight. Thank you for joining us. I'm really excited to speak with our panelists today. We have Dan Cooper, Rick and Kathy Elam, and Steve and Suzanne O'Neill. So thank you all to our panelists for being here. We do appreciate your time and appreciate everything that you are going to share. So I'm going to get right into the questions actually and I'm going to start with Rick and Kathy. So Rick worked for Vanguard for about 38 years, I believe, and he was in a variety of roles there. Kathy also worked, she worked for a McDonald's franchisee. She was in office, like an office manager. She did payroll and benefits. Rick and Kathy are, we'll say, relatively new-ish to retirement, have been retired for about 3 years, I think since 2022. So Rick and Kathy, now that you are a few years into retirement, can you tell us one or two things that surprised you about this phase of your lives?
Yeah, I can go ahead and start. One of the things that I think surprised me the most is needing to create my own routine after I retired. So the jobs, virtually every job that I had at Vanguard was very task oriented, and it was very time critical. And so all my days were either meetings or projects or other things that had time deadlines. And so I retired on a Friday, and then Monday morning rolls around and I went from 100 to 0. And so that was I wasn't anticipating how I felt. And I'll be honest with you, for probably the first at least 3 months, I felt kind of like a deer in a headlight. And but one of the things that helped me over time is working with Andrew, talking through those kinds of issues, and actually started using the Zig Ziglar Performance Planner and actually creating my own routine where I structured my day instead of just allowing the day to happen, starting to set goals for myself. And once I got that in place and realized that there's a whole lot more to life than my job, and that didn't define who I was, and I do have value in other things, and then getting more involved in a nonprofit that I'm on the board of, and more involved in church, and then a part-time job that I have. Now that all those things are in place, I feel like I have a very balanced and fulfilling life, and plus it gives Kathy and I plenty of time to travel and do the things that we want to do. But those first few months were I wasn't anticipating that. Kind of threw me out of the box, but time fixes all of that, and you kind of work through that, and then it becomes very rewarding.
And for me, I would say I can't believe how busy we are. We thought we were busy when we were working, and now that has not changed. Yes, it's easy to get sucked into like watching a little too much TV in the morning or whatever, but for the most part, I feel like we don't have a lot of downtime. Yes, in the evening more so, but during the day we're just busy with the things that he's involved in, and I end up helping a friend whose mom has Alzheimer's, and I stay with her a couple days a week. Our church activities. We don't have grandkids yet, so I can't even fathom what that will look like when the grandkids come. That to me was a surprise, that we are just as busy, if not busier, than what we were when we were working.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I recently listened to a podcast, and it was about retirement, so it was very timely, right? And one of the tidbits that really stuck out to me was the concept of not retiring from something, but retiring to something. So that gives a good segue, I think, into my next question for Steve and Suzanne. So Steve worked in sales for many years, and he and Suzanne both, I think, recently retired within the past year. And Suzanne also worked, she was an administrative assistant in a local school district in southeastern Pennsylvania. So Steve and Suzanne, you've been retired now for about a year, I want to say. How do you stay fulfilled? What have you retired to in this time of your lives?
Let me go first.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Much like Rick and Kathy, our lives are a lot fuller and busier than we ever expected, and the description of going from 100 to 30 is a pretty good one. But one of the things that, and I know this is not part of the question, but for me personally, I had a concern about that transition happening so quickly, and what we ended up doing is, the day after we retired, or I retired, Suzanne retired a little bit before me, we left for a 10-day vacation, which immediately reset our mode and, time waking up and all that kind of thing. And it wasn't designed that way to help with the transition. It was just kind of dumb luck, but it was a great way to reset, expectations and that kind of thing, to help us ease into a routine when we came back from vacation. It was a lot simpler for us that way. And as I said, it wasn't planned that way. It just worked out that way. But, for both of us, I think that was a very good thing that helped a lot. as far as how we're filling our time now, we have 4 children, 9 grandchildren. Most of those are little ones, and of course, mom and dads are both working, so we spend a lot of time babysitting so they can do what they need to get done, which is totally a labor of love, and takes a pretty good portion of our daytime. And
That's
now,
energy.
no doubt, yeah. And in addition to that, we're things that we have always wanted to do but never had the time to because of work is, like exercise and walking, and I like to play golf. And some of my friends that retired before me, during the week they'd be playing golf and I'd be working. Now that's something I can do now. And then meeting friends for lunch and that kind of thing, staying connected with people. Just as Rick and Kathy were saying, I feel like we're both,
I enjoy it.
definitely enjoy it a lot
Definitely enjoy
more.
it.
And days are very, very full.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been I thought I would miss work and the routine, and I probably shouldn't say that the people way more than I have turned out to. It's not something I miss really at all, and I know Suzanne feels the same way. Yeah. I mean, we both liked who we worked with, we both liked what we did, but we like this a lot better. Yeah.
I love every part of retirement. And we deserve it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, you've worked hard for many years, so yeah. Good. Well, thank you both for that insight and for sharing. I'm going to move now to a question for Dan. Dan Cooper is a retired preacher. I believe he was 50 years in ministry, and he's been retired since 2020. So actually, he's been retired the longest of the group of you. And Dan had a bit of a unique situation in planning for retirement, in that he didn't have an employer-sponsored retirement plan. So Dan, can you just tell us a little bit about what you did to plan for retirement?
Becky, Dan is having some technology issues, so let's jump to another question. We'll try to get him on shortly.
All right. Sorry. Okay, so shifting gears kind of totally. One of the topics of conversation that comes up in client meetings, especially with folks, there's Dan.
Woo! One of my favorite sayings, for those of you who don't know, I am a retired minister, and inevitably at church, when technology did not work, my favorite saying was, repeat after me, technology makes my life better. Technology makes my life better. Technology makes my life better. So at any rate, somehow my iPhone is working, but my computer is not. The link is not working. So anyway, my name is Dan. I have the distinct honor of being Cooper Eagle's first client, and my time was, what do I want to say? Andrew was already my advisor. And so we just changed dimensions a little bit. Now he is my official advisor. And at any rate, I retired without any formal retirement plan other than what I put into it myself.
And Dan, can you tell us, like, how did that kind of play out, I guess? When you obviously were younger, you were like, oh, I don't have someone helping me. I don't have an employer helping me do this. I need to do it on my own. Like, I guess I'm asking what was the thoughtfulness behind that?
Okay. The bottom line is the little church that I was helping to minister to, or that I started, we had a number of farmers in South Jersey. And the farmers said to me, Dan, nobody takes care of us in our retirement And so you need to take care of your retirement because you don't have a church organization. Our church is non-denominational, so we don't have a headquarters. And so I really didn't know what I was doing, other than I knew these farmers told me that if you're going to retire, you're going to need more than Social Security. And since no one is doing it for you, you better do it for yourself. And so whatever money I was able to put in to our retirement is the money that I now have in our traditional IRA. So I'm thankful to a couple families that were on the farm in South Jersey that saw the need to provide for their own retirement, and that those two couples encouraged me to provide for my own retirement. And that's the way we did it.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's good, Dan, because while your situation may not be unique, it's unique enough that there are, people who don't have or don't work at a company that has a retirement plan, so they have to do it themselves. So it's doable, right? It just takes maybe a little more thoughtfulness and mindfulness
It is.
to get there.
Exactly. And unfortunately, I never had a match for anything I put in. But again, what I put in, I knew would somehow eventually benefit me. And at the same time, I knew whatever monies I put into my traditional IRA, I was saving taxes by not having to pay for that money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Dan, for sharing that bit with us. And then now I will shift gears. One topic that comes up, as I was mentioning, when we have client meetings for folks who are moving into that phase, they're thinking about retiring, and it's, of course, healthcare costs. Healthcare is a big part of our costs in retirement, and Medicare, of course, is a big part of that, a big piece of the discussion. So I'd love to hear from everyone, because I think all of you have gone through the Medicare process, but I will ask Rick and Kathy to answer first, just because we met with them recently and we talked a little bit about this, so I know that they've had it top of mind. So Rick and Kathy, how did you navigate the Medicare process? Because it can be complicated.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that helped us out the most is first of all, when you start approaching Medicare age, you start getting inundated with all kinds of mail offering suggestions and all kinds of things. But I came across one, I guess you would call them a Medicare broker, if you will, and called them the Medicare Authority. And it was a person who offer to sit down with you and talk through all the aspects of Medicare. You share all their details of medications that you take, medical issues that you have, and then she helps tailor and explains, okay, with Medicare, here's what you will need, and really kind of from A to Z. And for me, it kind of took out all the worry, because there's just so much to read and try to learn on your own. I just wasn't comfortable trying to do that. First of all, I didn't have time to do it, nor did I want to. So it's one of those things that you desperately need, health insurance, but it's not fun to learn about it. And so this woman made that process, for me at least, a whole lot easier. It gave me peace of mind that I was selecting the right plans, and also the right timing, because timing and getting signed up and getting all your forms in and things like that is really important. But getting that, that Medicare broker in place, really an advisor, if you will, helped me out tremendously.
By the time I was ready to retire, he was the expert through the broker, and so I didn't have to worry about. He handles most of all of that, so it was way over my head.
Yeah. Good, great. And I don't know if Steve and Suzanne or if Dan have anything else to add.
I'll just say that that is a very confusing process, and it's something that you don't want to make a mistake with. And we have a really good personal friend that retired before we did, and he's probably the smartest guy I know. And we started talking about retirement, and he said, "This is what you want to do. This is who you want to talk to, because this is who I talk to." And he helped Kathy and I immensely. Kathy, she has his wife, yeah. But it sounds similar to you, Rick. He's with this company called Beneserve, which I have heard of, but had never had any interaction with. Mm-hmm. And we went and probably spent 45 minutes to an hour with him, and he took us through all the different options and cleared up a lot of things that were completely unclear to us going in. The part that I didn't get at the time was how does this guy get compensated? But my friend said, hey, he doesn't. You guys don't pay him. He gets somehow paid or something from whatever companies you end up going with, and that's exactly what it was. Almost too good to be true scenario for us. So we came out of the office after meeting with him with real clear direction and a real good understanding of what our options were and what was best for us, and put into play all the kind of things that we all agreed upon. And then afterwards we had a question or two that we followed up with him, and it was just an awesome experience, which had we not done that would not have been that good. And I'm not getting compensated by him. I before and after. I know it sounds like a commercial, but I didn't know him before, and I haven't spoken to him since. But it was one of the best things we've ever done.
Yes,
yeah.
I agree.
Good. All right. Well, thanks. I don't know, Dan, did you have anything else?
Yes, I will just say one thing. These two couples that have gone before me did it the right way. I do it the right way originally. I had a friend who had retired 1 year earlier than I had. And I said, well, whatever was good for him, it must be good for me. Well, guess what? I did that and realized that what was good for him was not good for me. And so I watch TV, and as my two predecessors have said, you get bombarded with commercials and bombarded with ads, both in the mail and on TV. Somehow they know when you reach that magic age. And so after that 1 year, the good news is, even if you have made a mistake, at least in my case, every fall you're able to re-up with a different plan. And so we have done that, and we are now with actually, I don't know, and I'm not getting any benefit from them, but Humana has a number of plans, and so we're using them right now, and very, very happy with the option that we've chosen with Humana for supplemental insurance.
All right.
But it was kind of trial and error. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. All right, good. Okay, so another question, this is for all three of you. And the question is, what advice would you give to a person who is about 5 to 10 years from retirement? So they're getting close. What advice would you give to that person? And I should direct it to someone so we're not in dead air. So Steve and Suzanne, if you would want to start the conversation.
Yeah. You want me?
You go ahead.
A lot of my motivation and concern was around, if anything ever happened to me, how would Suzanne, figure out what's what and what's where and who to talk to on what, and what do we have, where it's at, how do I manage it? So that was not a position that I wanted to leave her in if anything was ever to happen to me, because as job changes and things like that, you have assets in different accounts and, you know, a fair amount of complexity. So one of my big goals, beginning probably around 5 years ago, was to try and get that all organized and designate somebody or you know, have somebody that if something was to happen to me, Suzanne could say, hey, in this case, Andrew knows everything about us now. You know, what do I do now? What do I do now? And so that's not something I worry about anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It worried me. It worried. So it's nice to know we have Andrew to fall back on.
Good, great, thank you. That is really good advice. And Rick and Kathy, do you have anything to add?
Yes. Rick retired before I did, but when it came time for me to start thinking about retirement, I actually went to my employer in November of 2022 and said, I'd like to work part-time in January before I retire, if that's possible. So doing it gradually really, I think, helped me to see what retirement was going to be like, because I went from being the full office manager, payroll, I did a lot of different jobs, to just going to payroll, which allowed me to work for 3 days of 1 week, 2 days into the next week, and then I was actually off 3 days of the following week and 2 days of the following week after that. So like I had a 7-day stretch between going to work and being home. And it was wonderful. It gave me a true taste of what retirement was going to be like. And I still had a paycheck coming in. And then I fully retired in June of 2023. And it was so much easier. You know, I didn't go from a bigger paycheck down to a smaller one immediately. I went to a gradual decrease in pay, but had more time on my hands. So it was wonderful to do it that way.
For me, I would say, in hindsight, I should have connected with an investment advisor a lot sooner than I actually did. You know, working for a financial company who even had retirement planning as part of their service offer, I wasn't directly involved in it. I certainly had access to it. But for so long, you know, during your career, you're so focused on just earning a living and taking care of your family, you don't really think about long-term things there. And Vanguard was very good about helping people plan, even if they weren't, you know, super involved in it. But in hindsight, getting involved with an advisor a whole lot sooner, I think, would have helped us move into retirement with less concern. One of the things that Steve mentioned, I think, is really important, is having that peace of mind, not only for your investments, not only police and all those things, knowing that even if something were to happen to me, Kathy would be taken care of. Andrew does know all about, you know, our family, all of our issues, and just having that peace of mind is very, very helpful. And so, you know, one of the things that kept me from doing that for a long time is I thought, first of all, I don't necessarily think I need one, or I couldn't afford one, and both of those things were incorrect. And so I think especially 5 to 10 years out, getting that advisor in place, working on the plan, will help you ease into retirement rather than having to be reactive, you know, when you're 6 months out or 3 months out or whatever. So that would be my advice.
Great. Yeah. Excellent. And Dan, do you have anything else to add?
I do.
Any advice?
I do. Yes, my biggest advice would be certain about the advisor that you have. So there was a gentleman in my church that had dabbled in financial planning, And to support him, with him initially, of course, this was before Cooper Eagle even existed. But as I went with him, what I discovered partway along the way is that he had given me some bad guidance, some inaccurate guidance, and it ended up the company that he has suggested I invest in basically went bankrupt. The federal government got involved, and I don't know how many thousands of dollars that I lost. I think I probably lost somewhere between $20,000 and $40,000, which is not a huge amount of money, but I would be very careful. And kind of Rick alluded to this, that I was planning with not just an advisor, but a certified financial planner, because the two are worlds apart. All advisors are not good or are not legitimate certified financial planners. And so I would just be certain that I was going with somebody with proper credentials. And as Rick said, the earlier you start, the better. And I'm even encouraging a lot of younger people now to start certified financial planner, whether it's Cooper Eagle or someone else. Hey, don't make the mistake that I did by investing with a financial planner who was lacking in the proper certifications.
Yes, I think what you said, if someone's just dabbling in it, that might not be the right person to go to, right?
Right.
All right. All right. So we have a lot of questions that were submitted. When you registered, you had the option to submit questions. So we have a pretty sizable list. So I want to try to get into some of those. And then we'll get into any questions that may have been submitted throughout the presentation. And we did have to kind of sift through the questions submitted. Some of them just weren't appropriate for this forum. Some of them, we had a few jokesters. Someone asked if they could, if anyone wanted to donate to their retirement. And so we had, we kind of sifted through. And so if you don't hear your question being asked, if you're watching right now, that could be why. So the first question I have is, what is a principal regret that you have regarding planning for retirement in the foundational stages of your career? So that's I think we've kind of heard a little bit about that, and maybe hiring an advisor a little bit earlier than you had. But is there anything else, any regrets that you might have?
I'll just jump in real quick. The planner situation that we were talking about earlier isn't just your investments and getting your will in place and those kinds of things. It really encompasses every financial decision that you're making in your life. You're looking at your long-term cash flow projections. You're looking at am I going to need healthcare, long-term healthcare? Am I going to need insurance later? A lot of different decisions about your life. Can I afford to buy a brand new car, or should I lease one? Or in our situation, we're thinking about moving to Delaware and thinking through all the tax implications of all that. So certainly we're in a different season of life and different complexities. And so I almost need one now more than I did before. But like Dan mentioned, having a younger person get kind of their long-term strategy in place from the get-go, making sure that they're maxing out contributions to a retirement plan, getting the full match that they have from their employer. All those different kinds of things play in. And, if you do that early and you do that for a long period of time, you're going to be in great shape in retirement and really be able to enjoy your life and not have to worry about your money or your will or anything else like that.
And in addition to that, if you are getting that close to retirement, there's always that time that you have to start to declutter your house. Don't wait until you retire. Start it way sooner. It is definitely daunting to be going through stuff that has accumulated. Just start getting rid of it now. You know, if you're not retired, start now. That's what I spend a lot of my time doing, is going through stuff in the house to get rid of because of the fact that we might be moving. And you know, part of retirement could be downsizing. You don't need a 4-bedroom house, 3-bedroom house anymore. Or maybe you want to get rid of a 2-story house. There are those things to consider. So again, start getting rid of stuff now. You don't need those toys from your kids from 30 years ago.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so we'll move on to the next question. How did your retirement goals change as you passed through your 30s, 40s, and into your 50s?
I guess we'll start with that. In 30s and 40s, for us, it was all about getting to the first step, like the first, $50,000, $100,000. It was just, how do we keep building, and what do we need to do that? And as we moved into our 40s and early 50s, we were looking at ways to generate additional income on top of the employment that we had. So we started. We're landlords, which is can be complicated and definitely time consuming, but it was a good supplemental income stream. And as we moved into our 50s and 60s, Suzanne probably feels the same way, but I spent a fair amount of time thinking about, what if the worst was to happen and something was to happen to one or both of our jobs? How can we put ourselves in a position to live comfortably, if we didn't have that kind of income going forward? And, it was all about creating income streams and eliminating debt and that type of thing. So yeah, our goals definitely changed as we aged.
Yeah, good. And I don't know if Dan or Rick and Kathy have anything else to add for that question. If you had different goals as you progress through your year.
I will just briefly address that question. Both my parents and my wife's parents retired with, they got to the age that they were forced to retire, and they did that with little to no income. And so mine wasn't as much as a change as it was a commitment, as I saw our parents aging, both hers and mine, that we've got to do something. And so we invested some. I had alluded to the farmers that we knew that encouraged us to get started when we were in our 20s and 30s. But it wasn't really until we had our kids through college that we really got serious. And I know that's not the best way to go, but our big thing was putting as much as we could into our retirement during the last 10, 15 years after the kids were out of college and after we finished paying off college bills. So it wasn't as much of a change as it was a stark realization that if we have to go with the money that we had when we were 50, we would have been in very bad shape. And so we invested heavily. And as I guess we all know, the monies that we can invest per couple pretty significantly increase as we age. And so we took full advantage of that, whereas earlier we hadn't. And as I said, there were years we skipped completely because we were paying for college bills.
Yeah.
So
Good. Thanks, Dan, for sharing that. And I'll just move on to the next question because we're at 10:40. And we still have a few questions to get to. Generally, I think this will be an easy one. Generally speaking, has your spending increased or decreased from when you were working? Or stay the same,
Ours, I'll say ours has I don't think it's decreased, but it's definitely changed.
Definitely.
Okay.
Leading up to retirement, the last 5 or 6 years prior to retirement, in particular, we put a lot of energy into eliminating debt and paying off credit cards and bills and those kind of things. So that the spending we did for a lot of that is not there any longer. But it's made up for with spending on the kids, and if they take a vacation, and they'll have us, we go along with them, and there's a cost associated with that, or if the kids need help or whatever. So I don't think our spending amount has changed, but we're spending it on things we enjoy and want to do instead of things we need to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
And yeah.
I was just
Go
to say I agree with Steve. Everything that he said. One of the things that we focused on the last few years before I retired was trying to eliminate any credit card debt that we had and was left over, because we wanted to go debt free into retirement. We did end up, once we retired, we did buy a truck and a camper so we could go camping. But since then, we have now then paid off the truck and got a lease. But we went and purchased that vehicle, and so I would agree. Our spending, I don't necessarily think it's increased, but it is very different than it was when we were working.
We travel a whole lot more, so you're putting more money into that than you have in the past. But there's something to be said for being able to pay cash for things. As Rick pointed out, instead of putting it on a credit card, which we did frivolously in our younger years, that would lead back to the last question about the goals changing through your 30s, 40s. We made so many mistakes with that early on, and we were able to pay those credit cards off and now pay everything cash as much as possible. And that has been a life-changing experience right there.
Yeah. Good. And Dan, do you have any feedback? How's your spending?
Well, yeah, I concur with the people that have gone before me, with Steve and Suzanne and Rick and Kathy. Ours has probably decreased a little bit, but we spend on different things. Yeah, my wife, she wanted a new refrigerator, stainless steel. A new dishwasher, stainless steel, and always before I would have said, no, we don't need that. We'll replace it when it's broken. We did something we've never done before at Andrew's encouragement. Dad, Mom, you got money, spend it. We don't have all that much money, but my financial advisor, I always thought they'd encourage us to hold on. And in this case, okay, my wife, she wants new appliances, so go ahead and get them. We had our garage, the sparkly epoxy. It is so nice. So we don't spend as much, but we've spent things on things that we earlier would have never even considered spending money on. You just feel like, okay, either I'm going to spend it or my kids are going to spend it, so I'll go ahead and spend it.
I like that.
Yeah, we're still struggling. Yeah. It's the one thing that I have found that I wasn't expecting is that you spend decades in the accumulation stages, and that's all you've ever done is try to accumulate money, and you finally get to the point where you're in a half decent spot and retire. It's for me, more than Suzanne, I'd say it's been tough to turn the corner and spend instead of save, and maybe the that goes in the other direction for a change. That's psychologically for me. That's been a transition that I'm still going through, which I wasn't expecting. Yeah,
big time. Yes.
Yeah, I think we hear that a lot with clients as well, that the shift from save to spend because you've sort of earned the right to spend it, right? You saved for many years, decades. And yes, now you should get to spend it, right? All right. Our next question is more of a lifestyle question. And I don't think any of you do this, but I'll ask it anyways. This is about cruising. What enjoyable cruises have you all taken, and on what cruise lines? Are any of you cruisers?
We're looking for.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have not done any cruises, but we're starting to look at maybe doing one of those Viking cruises. Are supposed to be really,
Yes,
really nice. So nothing planned yet, but it's on our radar. Yeah.
We have a cruise planned, a Danube River cruise with Viking this September. And by the way, Steve, if you're going to cruise, you better get in early, because I also lead groups to the Holy Land and other groups. We worked a year ago to get people registered for this Viking cruise. And, people, well, I don't want to decide yet. Well, guess what? Now we're 6 months away and it's filled, and we have a waiting list, 8 couples long, of people that want to get on the cruise. So we have cruised. The first year we retired, we cruised to Alaska, and that was with Holland America. I would definitely encourage that. It was a wonderful experience. And then we have this Danube River cruise this coming September. And we also did a New England fall foliage cruise out of Bayonne, New Jersey. So we didn't have to fly somewhere to get there. So that was those are the only 3. And we never cruised before because my wife was prone to motion sickness, and we were afraid she'd get sick, and cruising is no fun if you got a sick spouse.
Yeah.
So anyway, done great. And I'm working on a Nile River cruise next year in March. So we'll see. That's something we're very excited about and putting it together right now.
Great.
We've been on 2. We went to Alaska as well, with Holland America, and it was wonderful. And for my 50th birthday, which was years ago, Rick treated us to a cruise to the Caribbean, and we went to Cancun and Cozumel and Grand Cayman, and that was with what cruise line? Princess. It was a Princess. No. I don't remember, but it was a fun cruise. It was a lot of fun.
Good. Okay, I'm going to, we're starting to run out of time. So we have a couple of questions that came through during the course of the presentation today. So I want to try and get to those. First is for Dan. If you could talk to yourself right after you decided to start to fund your own retirement investments, what would you tell your younger self to do differently? Ooh.
I think the biggest thing I would tell myself is what we all need to tell ourselves, which is delayed gratification is the right thing to do. Delayed gratification. By that I mean, don't spend your money now. Spend your money, my younger self, on necessities. You got to pay for your kids' college bills, but delay gratification. It's worth it to take that. When we first started, the $2,000 chunk a year that we could each put into our retirement when we first started, it's worth it. You will be happy later. You will be good later. So my younger self is probably what all of us would tell our younger selves: delaying gratification, delaying instant satisfaction is worth it.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. Definitely good advice. And then this question is for all of you. Is there a decision, real estate, cars, health, family, etc., that you are working through right now And if you're comfortable sharing, what is it? Any pressing funding? I know Rick and Kathy, you mentioned about moving. That's, I think, a big one.
Yeah, I was getting ready to mention that. We're considering moving from Pennsylvania to Delaware, and trying to think through all the ramifications of that. We know it would save a lot on real estate taxes and other things, but there's a lot that goes into all of that and the decisions that you have to make in order to make that kind of a move. Plus, we'd be leaving. We've lived in Pennsylvania our whole married life, so this will be a big change. And we watched Kathy's sister and her husband go through it. It was very easy for Kathy's sister, but not necessarily so much for her husband when they moved to Delaware several years ago. So there's a lot of things to consider, but to give Andrew a few props here, just having somebody you can bounce those ideas off of, somebody who is comfortable and knowledgeable of real estate and other things, is very, very helpful. And so as we make decisions, we don't feel like we're being frivolous or whatnot. We're actually thinking through all the right things.
Yep, good. And Dan or Steve and Suzanne, any financial decisions you need to make that are pressing? Maybe you should plan a meeting with us if you do.
Yeah. For us at the moment, nothing pressing, Becky.
Okay.
I guess my one would be when to buy a new car or to buy a different car. My wife has a car with low mileage. I have a Honda that I love, and I'm not inclined to get a new one. But sometime down the road, Andrew keeps reminding us, hey, you need to look at a newer, nicer car. Well, I don't know about nicer, but newer with lower mileage would be good. So that's kind of out there. Probably not this year, but in the future years would be a big expense, and we would pay cash for it, God willing. And that would be that's my next big expense.
Okay, good. All right, thanks. Well, it is 10:52, and I want to circle back to the question that I asked at the beginning of our time together. And for all of you, for the three of you, two couples and Dan, to answer, how would you define success in retirement?
For us, it's success would be being in a position, live a comfortable life, do what we want to do, help our family when necessary, and being able to sleep at night, not worrying if we're going to run out of money. Yeah, and we've always kind of thought we were there, but it's been great getting your guys a second opinion, an objective opinion from you guys. That is very reassuring to us. Yeah. Yes. But
we sleep much better.
Yeah, eliminating worry is the bottom line for us, or has been.
I think for us,
for success, very candidly, kind of like Steve and Suzanne said, it's being close enough to family and being able to help family when we wanted to, when we had the opportunity to. Unlike Rick and Kathy, we decided against moving out of New Jersey to Delaware, although it would have been relatively easy because of our family, and in my case, our church connections here. So we said, we'll bite the bullet and we'll pay the extra taxes because we want to be close to family. We're not moving far away from family. We're staying close to family, and we feel like, hey, we can do that. And so we can live in a single floor house, in a house. We don't have to go to the basement to do the laundry, and we can still be close to family within an hour and a half drive to all the kids except for one. So that's our success in retirement.
And for us, our move is to be closer to family because our kids do not live in, well, one still lives in Pennsylvania, but most likely would move too. But we've got other family along with our daughter and her husband, who are the ones that we're hopeful for grandkids, all live in Delaware. So there's that. But I would also say that travel while you're healthy enough, physically able, that's been one of the successes for us. We love to travel. We've done 2 4-week road trips in the past 2 years that we never would have thought about doing before. But because we can, it saves some of the stress of the air traffic and air traffic, flying. But at the same time, we get to see parts of the country. I mean, this last road trip that we did, we went through 15 different states, half of which we'd never been in before. So, you know, it allows you the freedom to do things like travel that you've never done. But we want to do it while we're still healthy enough to do that. So early on.
The other thing that I would just quickly add is that, to me, success isn't about things, because things aren't going to bring necessarily. It's more about relationships. It's about being able to having the freedom to serve other people and be able to give in a way that maybe we haven't been able to give in the past. And so I think having a fulfilled life at this stage of the game is really important.
Great. Yeah, I think going back to that podcast I listened to recently, I think all of you are very successful in the retiring to something stage, or part of that. So just thank you all so much for sharing your experiences in retirement. I know a lot of you, or all of you, haven't been really retired all that long. But it's great to, just share what you're finding successful and not successful for those of us who are listening and who attended this seminar. So again, thank you. We're at 10:57, so I think we're going to wrap it up. I think we got to both of the questions added into the chat, into the question box. So I don't know, Andrew, do you have anything else to add?
Just a very brief, cognizant of time. Thank you so much. Round of applause for Becky and Nico setting this all up, and Rick and Kathy and Stephen, Suzanne and Dan, Mom, Catherine's back there somewhere. Thank you guys for sharing. It warms my heart hearing your stories. You guys are literally living the American dreams. You've served, saved well, sacrificed well, delayed gratification, and now you're getting to spend more time with friends and family and traveling and doing terrific work with your life. So it's an honor to be working with you three, and we're honored to be part of your journey. And again, thank you to Becky and Nico for this. I love this quote from Jack Bogle. I'll try to share it here pretty quickly. And it is that if the enemy of a good plan is the dream of a perfect plan. So don't forget that it's better to have some plan, and you don't have to have a perfect plan, but just keep plugging away for those of you in retirement and those of you that hope to be retired soon. And huge thanks from Cooper Eagle and our team for joining today, and our advisor Jacob down in Arkansas with baby Nora walking around there in the background. We're honored to be partnering with Jacob and his new family also.
That's all.
Thanks,
Becky.
Thanks, Becky.
Yep. Yeah, thanks. And I just wanted to, you can see our disclaimer on the screen here. We have to do that for compliance reasons. Just we for all of those who signed up to attend, we'll be following up with you in the next several days for feedback. And if you want, this presentation was recorded, so if you would like a recording of it sent to you, that just send us an email to service@coopereagle.com. So again, thank you all for attending, and thank you for watching.